You think Australia's deadly today? Let's run the numbers. Australia is home to 20 of the world's 25 most venomous snakes, including all of the top 11. It has spiders like the Sydney funnel web, whose bite can kill an adult human in under an hour. Box jellyfish drift through the water with enough venom to stop your heart in 2 minutes flat. Cone snails, those tiny, pretty seashells you would think are harmless, pack a sting so lethal it is called the cigarette snail because you will be dead before you finish one. The saltwater crocodile grows up to 23 feet long and weighs over 200 pounds. It is the largest reptile alive today, and it actively hunts people. Even the seemingly harmless cassowary bird can gut a human being with one kick. And yes, it is one of the very few birds on Earth known to have killed people. Oh, and just for fun, Australia has 66 species of venomous marine animals, including the blue-ringed octopus, which is small enough to fit in your palm but toxic enough to kill 26 humans with a single dose. Add to that the 2019 to 2020 bushfires, fires so huge they burned over 46 million acres, killed over 1 billion animals, and turned the skies blood red. Modern Australia is basically nature's biggest do not touch sign. And yet, compared to prehistoric Australia, today's Australia is the kiddie pool, because 50,000 years ago, this place was not just dangerous, it was apocalyptic. Giant land, running crocodiles that sprinted like greyhounds, lizards bigger than most cars and probably venomous, snakes longer than SUVs with the strength to crush prey to death, marsupial predators that could bite through bone like butter, and herbivores so massive and mean they made elephants look like Labradors. When the first humans showed up, if they knew what awaited them, they probably never would have gone there in the first place. The first horror on the list is the quincana, the land croc from your nightmares. This was not some crocodile look-alike. It was the real deal, a genuine crocodilian, but not like the ones you see lazing around today. The quincana was not built for lurking in muddy water, it was built to run. Long, powerful legs lifted its body clear off the ground, with hoof like toes for better grip on rough terrain, and a flattened tail used less for swimming and more for balance and sprinting. Basically, imagine a croc with the chassis of a greyhound. Most adults stretched around 10 feet long and weighed about 40 pounds, about the size of a big American alligator, but that is just the average. The biggest quincana specimens could grow over 20 feet long, more than twice the size of a grown man, and weigh close to 1,000 pounds. They were not just big, they were perfectly armed. Their teeth were not conical for gripping fish like modern crocs, they were blade-like, heavily serrated, and built to slice clean through muscle and bone, exactly the kind of teeth you see in meat, slicing dinosaurs. These were not ambush predators lying still in rivers. These were land-hunting, flesh-shredding sprint machines. Paleontologists even estimate their bite force could exceed 500 pounds per square inch, enough to split a human torso in one crunch. And if you were thinking, okay, just stay near the water, they won't chase me there, think again. There is good evidence quincana could swim too, not as gracefully as a true aquatic croc, sure, but well enough to catch you if you dove in hoping for a miracle. On land or in water, it did not matter, the quincana had you covered, terribly covered. But even the land crocs had competition. Enter Megalania or Varanus priscus if you want to be scientific about it. Yeah, scientists gave it the technical name, but let's be honest, Megalania sounds way cooler. It literally means great roamer, which is a polite way of saying terrifying land dragon. This was a monitor lizard, just like today's Komodo dragons, except way bigger and way nastier. Minimum estimates put Megalania at around 11 feet long and weighing about 350 pounds, already massive, about the size of a big sea lion. But the largest reconstructions suggest the biggest Megalania could hit up to 26 feet in length. And not some skinny snake build either. This thing was beefy, robust enough to weigh close to 4,000 pounds, that is 2 tons. For comparison, that is about as long as the longest recorded anaconda, but 8 times heavier. It was not just big for show, it had razor-sharp, recurved teeth, curved backward and designed to hook into flesh and not let go, teeth that could pierce, tear, and hold struggling prey. Its legs were thick and muscular, built to bulldoze through terrain and bring down anything in its path. And its claws were 5-inch hooked meat hooks, perfect for ripping into prey or for climbing, because yeah, Megalania may have been a part-time tree climber too. Oh, and because this is Australia we are talking about, Megalania was probably venomous too. Modern monitor lizards like Komodo dragons produce venom that acts as an anticoagulant, basically making it impossible for wounds to clot. A Megalania bite would not just hurt, it would bleed and bleed and bleed, leading to shock, massive blood loss, and infection. This means, even if you somehow escaped the initial attack, you were probably still living on borrowed time venom, blood loss, septic shock, take your pick. Facing a Megalania was like rolling dice with death, and all the sides said you lose. If your biggest phobia is snakes, congratulations. You would not have survived ancient Australia, because slithering through the forests and wetlands was one ambi, a snake, so terrifying it makes modern pythons look like garden hoses. One ambi was not venomous, it did not need to be. It was a giant constrictor stretching up to 6 meters, that is about 20 feet long, and weighing several hundred pounds. That is the length of a large Burmese python today, except one ambi lived in a world where everything else was bigger and meaner too. And while most modern constrictors like pythons and boas are designed to suffocate their prey and swallow them whole, one ambi had a different, much more brutal issue. Its jaw was stiff, primitive, and rigid. It could not dislocate its jaw like modern snakes to engulf giant animals in one gulp, which meant when one ambi caught you, it did not swallow you, it tore you apart, with sharp backward-facing teeth and brutal muscle strength. It would latch onto flesh, rip massive chunks out, and keep constricting until its prey was dead or shredded, sometimes even disemboweling its victims in the struggle. Blood loss, internal injuries, and suffocation were all on the menu. There was no quick, neat death here. Honestly, getting mauled by Megalania might have been a mercy compared to getting crushed, shredded, and bled out by one ambi. And remember, this was not a one-off monster. One ambi belonged to an entire family of giant snakes called the Madsoiida, a prehistoric snake dynasty that ruled Australia long before venomous snakes became the local specialty. You did not just have to watch your feet. You had to watch the trees, the water, the rocks, everywhere, because the ground itself might have been moving toward you. The mammals were just as unhinged. And before you start thinking, well, at least the mammals were probably cute and cuddly, nope, not even close. Australia's top mammalian predator was Thylacoleo carnifex, better known as the marsupial lion, and it was every bit as terrifying as the name suggests. Picture something roughly the size of a wild boar or even a small lion, around 260 pounds of pure muscle. But unlike lions, Thylacoleo was not built for chasing prey across open plains. It was built for ambush and instant kill. Its skull was short and deep, perfectly designed to maximize bite force, and its bite was, pound for pound, the strongest of any mammal that has ever lived, even stronger than modern lions or tigers relative to its size. Scientists estimate it could bite down with over 1,000 pounds of force, enough to crush bones, snap spines, and puncture thick hides in a single devastating chomp. Its teeth were bizarre and brutal. Instead of classic carnivore canines, it had enlarged incisor, like teeth at the front of its jaw, perfect for stabbing deep wounds, and blade, like premolars at the sides, sharp as meat cleavers, evolved specifically for slicing flesh and snapping through bone. Basically, it carried a full butcher shop inside its mouth. Its claws were no joke either. Each hand had retractable hooked claws, a rare feature in marsupials, attached to semi-opposable thumbs, giving it an insane grip strength. Those claws could grab onto prey, climb trees, or tear open flesh with surgical precision. And speaking of trees, there is strong evidence that Thylacoleo was a climber. It could haul itself and potentially even its kills up into trees, just like modern leopards stash their prey on branches to protect them from scavengers. Imagine walking through a prehistoric Australian forest and realizing the 260-pound murder machine might not just be stalking you from behind. It might be above you too. In short, if the Quinkana did not get you, and the Megalania did not get you, and the one ambi did not get you, there was still a bone-crushing tree, climbing marsupial assassin waiting in the shadows. Even the herbivores could kill you. You might think the herbivores, the gentle grazers, would be the safe ones, but yeah, no, not in Australia. Meet Diprotodon, basically a wombat the size of a freaking car, the largest known marsupial to ever walk the earth. On average, Diprotodon could weigh up to 3.8 tons, that is about 400 pounds, putting it squarely in the weight class of a modern Asian elephant. It stood around 6.6 feet tall at the shoulders and stretched over 13 feet from snout to tail. Imagine a hippo, but furrier and crankier. And Diprotodon was not just massive, it was built like a living tank, with thick bones, heavy muscles, and a center of gravity that could easily steamroll anything in its path. Its skull housed enormous, ever-growing front teeth, perfect for tearing through tough vegetation. But if it wanted to, those jaws had enough force to crush a human femur like it was a twig. You did not want to get stomped, trampled, or even bumped by this thing. One wrong move, and you would be reduced to a memory. And as if hulking death wombats were not enough, there was more in store for you, death by giant bird. As stated prior, Australia is still home today to giant birds, and also the only ones with the capacity and aggression to kill a fully grown human adult. If you survived the other encounters, you could count on them to capitalize on the easy meal that humans were back then. Specifically, Genyornis newtoni, an ancient member of the thunderbird family, because apparently prehistoric Australia decided everything needed to sound like a boss fight. Genyornis stood over 2 meters tall, that is 6.5 feet, and weighed in at a hefty 500 pounds. Flightless, yes, but slow, not a chance. This bird was built like a linebacker on a bad day, with stocky, heavily muscled legs, powerful hips designed for sprinting and smashing, and a center of gravity that could absolutely body, check you into another dimension. And while Genyornis was probably herbivorous, at least based on its beak shape, you would not want to bet your life on that. Because if it felt threatened, one kick could shatter your ribs, and one headbutt could knock you into the next time zone. Their thick, heavy legs could deliver crushing blows strong enough to send a human-sized predator, or unlucky human, flying, and their sharp claws were not just for show. They could easily rake through flesh if things got messy. Even worse, Genyornis lived in open plains and scrublands, so good luck hiding from a 2-meter-tall bird when there was barely a bush to duck behind. In a place already crawling with reptilian monsters and killer mammals, prehistoric humans also had to worry about death by giant chicken, because Australia was humanity's hardest level. And here is the kicker: everything deadly in Australia today, like crocodiles, great white sharks, venomous jellyfish, and deadly spiders hiding where you least expect them. Yeah, they were already invited to the party back then. So, on top of today's living nightmare, that is the Australian wilderness, you could now add those ancient species, just to make sure sleep exists only in your sweetest memories. Australia was basically Dark Souls, but in real life, and you did not get a respawn. The entire ecosystem was fine, tuned to tear you apart, whether by venom, muscle claw fang, or sheer bad luck. And yet somehow, against all odds, humans survived. The first people to step foot onto this chaotic, reptile-infested nightmare of a continent did not just scrape by, they thrived. Archaeological sites show clear evidence that early humans hunted megafauna, learned the land, adapted, and turned predators into prey. Spears and fire and strategy beat fangs and claws. And to prove the point further, none of these creatures exist anymore. As for all megafauna worldwide, past or present, there is a great chance we played a role in these disappearances, directly or indirectly. This means that when it came down to it, we were the scariest thing Australia had ever seen, even here, even at the end of the world. If this deep dive into prehistoric Australia made you grateful for modern life, or just glad you are not being chased by a sprinting crocodile, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. We have got plenty more stories from the edge of extinction and the weird, wild corners of our past. Share this with someone who thinks Australia's current wildlife is scary. And drop a comment: what prehistoric nightmare fuel would you least want to run into? Thanks for being part of this journey. Until next time, keep listening to the echoes, and maybe stay out of Australia.